All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Side Quest Podcast, the post-Christmas episode. I hope everyone had an excellent Christmas holiday and are preparing for the New Year festivities. I have a great guest for you today. He is an entrepreneur who started a clothing line designed for men who are fit. The problem a lot of times when you are buying shirts, when you lift weights or work out a lot, is that they don't often always fit you in the right places. They're too boxy, they hang off of you, they don't really fit your body type. This is where trim comes in. Mike Zeller is a serial entrepreneur, and he was inspired by a friend of his who had great style. Most guys, we don't have a lot of great style. I try and be stylish myself, but many times you'll find me in shorts and a t-shirt or just schlumping around. But when I want to look good, I try and get things that really fit and really look well. And Mike was inspired by the style that his friend had, who constantly got compliments, not only from women, but from guys who really dug his style. But Mike wanted to create something where men did not have to go out and get tailored clothing that fit them all the time. This is where trim comes in. He started a clothing line with no experience in clothing whatsoever, just the desire to provide great value to customers. I met Mike at the business mastermind I am in, and I wanted to get him on the show because this is something I struggle with as well, trying to wear clothes that look good, that make me feel good. I've got my suit, which is tailored and always makes me feel like $1 million, but everything you wear as a man should make you feel like $1 million, no matter what. You know, you should put on a shirt and be proud to wear it. And that's what Mike has done with trim for the fit athletic man. T-shirts, denim shirts, they have hoodies. And guys, I say it in the show, but this hoodie, I felt it. It's like snuggling with a panda bear. You need to go snuggle with this panda bear and check out this amazing fabric that this hoodie is made out of. They're doing t-shirts. They're working on Henleys and jeans and even more coming in the next year. But we talk a lot about entrepreneurship, how he got into it, what drove him to do and start some of the businesses that he started, as well as his inspiration and his exercise, what he does as a busy entrepreneur on the road when he's traveling. When we did the interview, he was in Bangkok and was just heading to get to the gym as we were speaking. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I hope you had a great Christmas. If you could do me a favor, I really would love it if you would head over to iTunes, hit subscribe, and leave a review. When you do that, it helps more people see and hear the awesome episodes that we have. It moves us further up the charts in iTunes algorithm. And we've had some amazing guests on the SideQuest podcast, and I want more people to listen to the amazing tips and tricks that we've dissected from some of the best in the industry. If you are not following me on Twitter, check me out at SideQuest FM. If you're not following me on Instagram, you can check me out there at SideQuest FM, or head over to Facebook, search SideQuest Fitness, like the page, and get all the updates on articles, podcasts, and all the shenanigans that you will see me go through. I hope everyone, again, had an excellent and a Merry Christmas, and I hope you have an even better New Year. So enjoy this episode of Mike Zeller from weartrim.com. And if you've got some extra Christmas money, head over there, buy one of those hoodies. You will thank me for it. Enjoy the episode, guys. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of SideQuest Podcast. As I mentioned in the pre-show roll, I have a fantastic guest for you tonight. He is an entrepreneur that I got to meet at the mastermind that I'm in out in LA a couple months ago. He considers himself a serial entrepreneur. He has started many businesses. He's had many fail, but he's had many succeed. And he's got a great product called Trim, because one of the issues for guys that enjoy working out is you have to buy clothes off the rack and they don't really fit you. They don't look as great. And if you go a size down, they are really too tight in certain areas. So he developed a product and started a Kickstarter to get it out there that focuses more on getting that V shape, which a lot of guys really enjoy, having those nice cut lats. And his shirts fit that style. They make you look awesome. And I have to say, I felt one of the hoodies, and it felt like snuggling with a panda bear. And I want one because they're amazing. But I want to welcome to the show Mike Zeller. Mike, welcome to the show.
Rob, great to be here, man. Appreciate the invite, and always glad to connect with you. And excited to dive in and chat for a while and connect, and love what you guys are up to.
Thank you. So tell the audience a little about you, Mike. Where you're from, what you do now. I know currently you're in Bangkok and heading back to the States here for the holidays. But let the audience know a little bit about who you are and sort of where you kind of came from in your story.
Yeah. So I'm from Lexington, Kentucky originally. I moved to Nashville about 10 years ago after living in LA briefly in between. And I'm an entrepreneur. I kind of discovered that, really had that moment of clarity while I was actually doing a mini sabbatical inspired by a 4-hour work week down in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And about 4 years ago, I was sitting in a cafe, and it was the end of my trip, and I was looking for that aha moment. And I realized that if I really believed in something and was good at that aspect, like for example in real estate, which is my first business, I had a residential real estate team and in Nashville, and if I really believed in the product and the service, then I could sell it, and I could build a sales system. And I realized that that I needed to create more, though, that I was really born to be an entrepreneur and born to live in this realm of ideas, and and I had this passionate commitment to creating better products and services that inspire people, that bring a touch of beauty to the world, and that enhance people's lives. And there's not enough businesses and enough companies that are truly 100%, 110% even dedicated to creating exceptional products and services that enhance the world and make it a better place. And so that's how I got my jump on that. And the next year, I ended my trip in Argentina right at Thanksgiving that year, came back. The following year, I started 3 different businesses. And while keeping my real estate business going, and then I started this fashion line about a year ago almost. Back in April is when we officially launched, but I've been working on it for a year and a half now. And it was just this passionate commitment to create better clothing for the fit guy. I was frustrated. I first became aware of how important style and fit is to what we wear, and how we feel different as men. Like when we feel differently about what we're wearing, we're able to accomplish our mission more, and we bring a different level of energy, confidence, and passion to whatever we're doing. Whether you're a doctor, you're a salesperson, you're an entrepreneur, you're with your girlfriend or wife, whatever. If you have a higher level of confidence, your energy is different, and the clothes we wear actually shape our level of confidence. Mm-hmm. And I discovered that when I lived in LA, and I had a best friend named Anthony, and he was jacked. He wanted to be the African American Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the action hero. He was ripped. We walk in the gym, and he can get girls to come off the treadmill and talk to him. And it was crazy. I'd never seen. And we'd be going to a Chipotle or something, and guys would even comment on his style. Straight guys would come up to him and say, "Dude, I love your style." And a big core component of it was he was always wearing clothes that fit. And at that point, I had never had a shirt tailored. I never had worn clothes that fit right. And I was just used to wearing the baggy, box-shaped tent shirts that every Banana Republic, every manufacturer out there sells. And wearing better clothing with a little bit of higher style, but also better fitting clothing, and it just changed the ball game for me. But then as I got into it, I was like, I got really frustrated with how few shirts and clothes, whether it's jeans or whatever, fit right immediately. And I'm busy. I don't want to go to a tailor all the time. And so I designed my clothing line so it fit me right, and I wouldn't have to get it tailored. And there's an audience out there like you guys that need better fitting clothing. So that's why Trim exists.
I agree with you when it comes to clothes completely changing the attitude of the man. I don't know if we got to speak about this in LA or not, but I have a background in theater. And I can tell you, like,
cool.
When you put a costume on, like, you can have the idea of a character and you can play them on stage. But when you put the costume on, for some reason, like, all of a sudden, you're like, oh, this isn't what I normally wear. Like, I'm not just in jeans and a T-shirt on. Like, you really embody the character and you really feel that. And it never really clicked for me that was actually more true than the time that I put on my best man bought me a tailored suit for my wedding, and I put on the pants, and I felt like $1 million. I mean, I don't think my posture had ever been any better. It just putting that jacket on, putting those pants on, like I immediately feel like I'm the king of the world. So now I understand why artists love suits so much.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say that is exactly why we exist, is to create more experiences, a more consistent feeling like $1 million, because that changes the ball game for the whole day for you if you're feeling that way. So anyway, that's all I wanted to add.
Why do you think men are just like they don't really care about style? Like, you said that you like to find a problem. You're looking for a problem to solve. But for a lot of guys, we're just like, man, just some jeans and a T-shirt. Like, why do we should care about it? Because it does make us look better and more presentable. And it does, it can improve our confidence. But why do you think men just don't care?
I think our culture sometimes is emphasized, and honestly, part of it has conveyed that myth that some men truly don't care, but also we haven't been educated on it, and then we're not sure what that looks like, and we find it as hard or sometimes even masculine. But even that, like jeans and T-shirt, I wear jeans and T-shirt a lot, but and we have some T-shirts that I love that are amazing, but they can enhance your look and enhance your appearance when worn right. And it doesn't really take more energy, but it's also we just haven't been shown the way. Right. I think that's probably the number one factor. And but as we get along, sometimes further in career or we're in a larger city, every dude cares about looking good, and but we just don't often go to the right resources.
Yeah, no, I agree. Trust me, for the longest time, I basically was one of those guys that just shopped at like American Eagle and Old Navy and buying clothes that were cheap and off the sell rack. I still do. I still do that to the biggest mark. But like, if I'm going to buy good clothes that are going to fit me for an occasion, like I'm gonna get something that fits and looks good. Like I'm not just going to buy something because it's cheap to have it. So leading up to Trim and what you've done, I know on your site you mentioned that you've sort of been a serial entrepreneur, and you, like you said, you were on a retreat in Buenos Aires, and you had this thought and came back and started 3 businesses. And you said a few of them have failed, not all of them have been successful. And this is your fourth sort of experiment. So why not give up after failing once or twice?
I remember this story about this IBM executive that this is back in the 60s, and he went to Watson, one of the founders of IBM, I believe, and he had just lost the company $1 million by a bad decision. And the CEO says to him, let's say his name's Steve. He's like, Steve, I just paid $1 million for your education. You are not resigning. Like, he came to him to resign, and instead the CEO is like, hey, this is part of your education. And and so that story stuck with me. And then I also read a book in my early 20s called Failing Forward by John Maxwell. And a lot of it was it was filled with all these stories of successful entrepreneurs that had failed in their business multiple times, and then they made it. And so those stories kind of stuck with me and anchored in, and I've seen other entrepreneurs fail. Like one of the businesses I came back and started that year was all natural healthy vending machine business. Not the biggest, brightest idea ever, but I was actually the first healthy vending machine business in Nashville. And the scalability, the profitability of that business wasn't the best. I ended up losing $25,000 and essentially shutting that business down in a year and a half and selling part of it. But so that was a big loss, but it set the stage for me to start another business. And it's like that business has made money, which is my car dealer. I have a socially minded car dealership. Thank Tom's. CarMax meets Tom's Shoes. Our goal is to create the best car buying experience in the Southeast. And then number two, every car we sell helps us give away another car to a single mother or someone in need. So like that business, I started that year too. But I see my failures as not really failures, but as learning lessons. It's part of my education. I've got a long life cycle ahead of me. Like I'm only 36 right now. I'm going to be working and creating stuff at least until I'm probably 70. And so that's just part of my education. And I get smarter every time. And you can't give up too. If this is what you're called to do in life, then there's nothing else you'd rather do.
Yeah.
As well.
So you sort of spawned immediately in my brain. I had a question about the car dealership, and we can come back to that. But two questions that sort of popped up while listening to you. You mentioned you're just 36, and in about 6 months I turned 30, and I know probably like a decade ago,
wow,
I would have looked at that and been like, "Oh my God, I'm going to be so old at like 30." And growing up, like as a little kid, I would be like, "Oh, 30 is that age that you're really starting to get old." But you say 36, and you don't like. There's none of that in your voice, and you say, I know I'm going to continue creating for years to come. But I think that's one thing with this generation of entrepreneurs and people that I've gotten to know, that they don't look at age like that. Do you even consider like is there an age where you're like, yeah, I'm old? Like, is there an age for you that's like that?
Not yet, because I still feel young at heart. But I'm sure when I'm 50, I'll think 60 is old, but I won't think 50 is old. When I was 30, I definitely felt 36 is old. So, but I feel great, and I'm full of energy and life, and I take care of my body, I take care of my health, and I feel young, man, and I'm in better shape than probably most guys in their 20s, and life is good. Life gets better. I feel like if you're intentional about your life, not everyone's intentional. Some people let life happen to them instead of creating life. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're intentional, life gets better and better and better, because I feel like right when I was turning 30, I felt like I was honing in the sweet spot. And I had identified it, I was zoning in, and now I feel like I'm even more precise with my sweet spot in life, like what I'm most gifted at, what brings me the greatest joy in work, and who I really am. And I'm still learning. I'm still getting closer and closer, but I felt like I was zoning into my sweet spot right when I was hitting 30. I had finally figured it out. So hopefully you're feeling the same way, Rob.
I have to be honest. I am. There's still a lot of doubt in my mind, but I think doubt is healthy to have, because it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
When you don't doubt yourself, you get a little too comfortable, and being comfort sort of allows you to just get lazy. And not continue to strive, and then you just sort of wake up one day and you're like, oh, I don't really know what happened. But so talking about that as well, and we'll talk about health in just a minute, because I do want to touch on that and what you do for training, because I know you travel a lot as well. But the idea that you look at things as a lesson and not as a failure, and that you have a lot to learn. When did that sort of like kick in for you? Was it around like the time you were 30? Was it after reading a certain book, or have you always been like that?
Well, I would say it's something I learned, but I learned it in my 20s with some of the books that I read. Since my early 20s, my very first conference, I went to a Brian Tracy conference, and one of the things that he said is if you want to be an expert in anything, all you have to do is read a book a month in that chosen field, and within 3 years, you'll be an expert and a top 1%er in that field. And since then, and then I learned other guys would read a book a week even, and that would accelerate the growth. So while I was in college, I actually had a book list and would read 35 to 45 books a year while I was in college, while I'm doing my textbooks and stuff like that in classes. And I played college baseball, and I was leader of fraternity or of a group in college too. And I just got committed to learning. And when you get committed to learning, you're reading these stories of other entrepreneurs that have had a lot of failure, and just people in life that if you're creating something and trying to birth something in the world, you're going to encounter resistance, which means you're going to encounter failure. And that's just been honed into me, and I've deepened that and continually embraced that and learned from it. And the people that are up to something in life, they're creating, which means they're also failing a lot, but they're growing a lot faster. So I treat it as like, I want to grow really fast. So I'm going to embrace failure and treat it as my friend instead of my enemy. Now, obviously, I need to make money, and some things need to succeed. So limit the exposure of failure. Like, I don't want a failure to wipe me out.
Right. How do you when you're starting a business and you're getting that going, and I think this sort of applies to health as well. And as people start to implement New Year's resolutions, you don't want to go too hard too fast and then completely wipe yourself out. So how do you set yourself up to where you are okay even if you fail?
Yeah, great question. For that process, you got to figure out what it is you can afford to lose and what you can afford to invest. And then also, like, if you're starting a business, for me, I've been starting other businesses while keeping my real estate business, for example, going, and now my car dealership and other businesses, my real estate investment stuff going, because you got to keep the main thing. If those things are what's producing income, make sure those are alive and producing income and not in danger, while you're diverting attention and energy to this new startup. And it's an imperfect process. I'm not perfect at it. But I went through a process in Just Start, this book called Just Start, Leonard Schlesinger, and he was a professor at Harvard Business School. Really quick book, 120 pages. Highly recommend it. I've got it on my blog as a top 10 books for entrepreneurs. But you got to just sit down and evaluate what can you afford to lose and what can you afford to give at this point when you're starting a business. And then where are your strengths? Who do you need to bring in? Like I look for business partners too, to offset some of the risk and to leverage connections and relationships and talent. Apple wasn't started by Steve Jobs alone. It was started by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, and then they brought in partners, other partners to help develop it. So it's hugely vital to have business partners, and I don't shy away from them. I have 7 different business partners at this point, and now within 4 or 5 years, I'll probably have about 15 different business partners. So.
Yeah, and having people there you can't do this alone, and I think that also goes into the health realm as well. It's difficult to show up every day, and it's difficult to lose weight with and live a normal American life, if you will. Because you're tempted all the time to to cheat on your diet or to not go to the gym or do this, and having supportive people around you, and starting a business, you need people there to support you and do things or help assist you in the things you're not very good at. Luckily I've had a lot of people this year step up and help me learn a lot of things, because like I said, I have a degree in theater. I can light a stage and I can memorize some lines and really send people running out of the theater when I sing. But when it comes to like business stuff, I don't have a lot of experience in that. But it's a learning experience. But I do want to talk about your health and fitness goals as well, and how you stay fit. You have all these businesses, so how do you keep the stress low? But how do you what is your workout routine? When you're on the road as well.
Great question, Rob. Yeah, it's one of the most vital things you can do, because it keeps your hormones in balance, keeps your energy up, it de-stresses. And I recognize that, early on in my 20s, I started noticing, hey, if I don't work out for like 3 days, I get edgy, my energy plummets, my confidence actually goes down. Like working out, endorphins and other things that boost your confidence, I see that as that's boosting my effectiveness in work too. So I make sure that I get at least generally about even a 15, 20 minute workout in. I do high intensity, short workouts, like burst type workouts where I don't stop, or I might take 20-second breaks between sets, and I just go and go and go, and then that shortens the workout, especially when I'm traveling or I only have 20 or 30 minutes to work out. But I'm not trying to pack on muscle, and I've kept a good shape, and but if I have time, I'll gladly do a minute workout, but I can compress it pretty well, largely because of the burst fit mentality of just doing high intensity workouts, short breaks in between, and keep rolling in it, and then increases your metabolism too. So,
yeah, those
so like right now sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. So right now you're doing what?
Yeah, I'm in Bangkok, and I'm at this nice condo building that I'm staying at. And right after the call, I'm bumping up to the fitness room, and I'm going to basically sprint on the treadmill for about 8 minutes. Then I'm going to do a bunch of sets of legs and stomach exercises, and then rock it out, and I'm done. So I'll be done in 15 or 20 minutes with my workout. So you can do a lot of body weight exercises. I do those if I don't have options wherever I'm staying as well.
Did you discover that getting that done in those short bursts was better for you, like in college, or was this something you had to develop as you were building businesses? And like you said, you knew in college if you didn't work out for like 3 days, you felt bad. So you were like, I need a really quick, intense way to get this done.
Good question. No, I actually had a bad back injury when I was in my early 30s. Like I was doing squats, and then the next day I was just walking around my house, and I twisted and turned, and it popped something in my back. And for the next six to 12 months, my back was on and off, where I couldn't run. I had a lot of pain, and I went through 5 different types of treatments to get it back to 100%. And what I realized is because of the way I was working out, and I wasn't strengthening my core, I was just doing the long sets, and I wasn't creating a lot of movement and a lot of intensity in my work. I had intensity, but then I would have big breaks. Like I had to shift things, and that happened right about the time I was 32, and so that created change where I was like, man, I got to work on my core more consistently, to counteract all the sitting we do. Like one of our generation's bigger challenges is sitting disease. And so especially when I travel, I'll be on a plane on Saturday for like 21 hours. So I'll get up, I'll stretch, and right when I land in LA, later that night, I'm going to do a couple back exercises and a couple core exercises before I go to sleep, just to get my back, keep my back healthy. So it was a painful experience that drove me to shift a lot of my workout to keep the joints moving and increase the intensity and shorten the duration.
Do you have, so what are your go-to, like when you're on a flight for that long, what are your go-to exercises for the back, or do you have some mobility stuff that you do as well?
Yeah, it's, so I do definitely some planks. Burpees are huge. Burpees, the way it works your whole body and especially loosens up the vertebrae in your lower back. That counteracts sitting a lot, counteracts the stagnation of staticness of our back. So burpees are one of the most healthy exercises you can do, especially if you're traveling or you have a bad lower back, because it creates lubrication of your vertebrae.
Yeah.
So because you're creating a lot of movement there. And I do some stretches, like some hamstring stretches are huge for your back when you're sitting a lot, because your hammies tend to tighten up. So I learned some of it through a GOSCU, a pain relief technique that focuses on aligning your full body. So I learned some of these stretches and some of these techniques through them too.
Okay, cool. I when it comes to traveling, like I had a desk job for the longest time until I became a trainer and started the podcast and doing stuff online. And I remember like I just now in the last like 4 or 5 months felt my glutes finally like wake up just from sitting so much.
Yeah.
Like they were just, I got to a plateau point in my deadlift where I just couldn't get by it, and I started pulling on my low back and hurt myself. Sitting is huge, is horrible. That's why like now I have a standing desk in my office. When we go on the road and travel, like we have a 15-hour drive to like the halfway point up to my wife's parents for the holidays in New Hampshire. I'm going to stop every couple of hours and do some mobility work and whatnot, because that long in a car, for 2 days, I feel awful. Like I just feel sick. Everything feels tight. So doing those sort of things, and I guess now I'll have to do some burpees, even though I hate them. You probably made some people like shake their head when you said they're really good. People are like, I don't care how good they are. Like, I'm not doing them.
They are a pain. I agree, man. I dread it almost every time. But I'm with you.
All right, so let's talk about trim, because I'm a lifter. I have a lot of friends who are big lifting guys. A lot of the listeners, lift, and many times it is difficult to find a shirt that doesn't squeeze you really tight, and then the next size up is too big and doesn't like make it look like you even lift. You started this company. Did you have any input with the design, or did you hire a designer for that with your idea and they just went with it?
Yeah. So one of the big shifts that I had was I went to this 2 years ago for the first time. I went to this event called Business Mastery that Tony Robbins puts on. Mm-hmm. Hands down, the single best business event I've ever been to. And I've been to 60 plus conferences in my life. I'm a conference junkie. That event shifted my thinking, shifted my ball game, and he made me uncomfortable with accepting being good at something. Instead, he really challenged the audience to be truly, I think, outstanding, like not give up, not be satisfied with good or even great, but pursue outstanding. And so as I've gotten involved in these other businesses, I've looked for, when I say looking for partners, I'm looking honestly for what what Tony would call and what I would call a highly skilled artist, someone who's a highly skilled producer in something like, one of my business partners, he creates these stunning mid-century modern home designs. And so we're a partner on some commercial real estate projects in Nashville. And he's a badass at that. Like, he is the best in the city. And we are now business partners. And I bring a different element to the game and can drive sales and manage that whole process and create, investor packages and all that. Same thing for trim. I realized I needed to have a world-class artist because I wanted clothing that would actually inspire me, that I would be proud of, that I would want to wear. And I need to find an amazing designer. And so I met this guy, Keith, from New York, and he was connected in the fashion scene in New York. I met him at a Tony Robbins event, actually. And we connected, then I flew up to New York, met with him, pitched, developed the idea with him, and he introduced me to a bunch of different designers. We ended up choosing one. That guy, ultimately, he's a really talented designer, but he wasn't great at designing stuff for manufacturing. And this is back in like April or March of this year, in the midst of, we're about ready to launch the company publicly on Kickstarter, and I knew I needed to find someone else, but someone else that was world-class at the manufacturing side as well, like designing for manufacturing. And I ended up finding this guy, Gregory. I was talking with my manufacturer, and I was like, dude, who do you know that is truly phenomenal, that is an expert at what they do? Again, back to what I said earlier about becoming an expert. Experts are paid disproportionately for what they bring into the world. And I wanted to find an expert, and when you get other A players on your team too, they attract other A players. You instantly gain credibility by having more A players on your team. So anyway, I meet with Gregory. I was like, I want this guy on my team. He's designing stuff for like the J brand, which was considered one of the best, if not the best, men's jeans company in the world at one point, and arguably still. He's working hand in hand with the founder of them. He's doing stuff for Guess Jeans, designed some awesome products for other brands out there. And I was like, this is who I need on my team. And so basically I pitched him on working with me, and I had to overcome some skepticism because here I am. I'm a rookie fashion guy that really doesn't know anything about the business. I've never started a fashion line. I'm new to this industry. And within a few meetings and phone calls, he was on board, and we started working together, and he's amazing. So he kicks butt. But it came down to, I raised the standard of what I would tolerate. And that was a big thing I learned from Tony at Business Mastery, was you get what you tolerate in life. And I had tolerated from myself, but also from the people that I work with, mediocrity, or even just being good at something. And I needed to elevate my own standards of what I tolerate. So that raised the ball game for me and raised my commitment and resolve to finding more exceptional people.
I'm having so many flashbacks when you say, not accepting mediocrity. I'm still haunted almost daily by my high school theater teacher who put that in our minds. I mean, as high school students, she did not allow me to work. Like, she knew you would hand in like your journal for the week, and she'd be like, I know you bullshitted this last night. Like, she had no problem calling you out. Yeah. She didn't accept it. I think that's one of the problems with college is you kind of go off and you're like, I can just be mediocre. I can just do this. No one's watching me. And it sometimes can be a struggle to get back on track and not be mediocre. All right, so a little more. So why Kickstarter? I know you're new to fashion, so I guess you sort of can get in there, and people can be like, all right, this is something I wanna put some money in, and something I can kind of believe in. But why Kickstarter?
It was a great way to test the product And I needed to find out, hey, do I have an audience here? Will people actually buy my product? And it's a way to pre-sell and to launch your company without having to sell your product or produce your product before you actually sell it. It reverses the equation where you actually sell it before you produce it. And as any startup business, one of the biggest things that you struggle with is cash.
Yeah.
And having the cash to do it. So that was producing a consumer product that's a heavy capital investment. That was a huge key. And even now, like we're pre-selling our T-shirts right now and our hoodies that you mentioned. We're testing them and getting the response, and they've sold quite well so far. So it's like verified that, hey, we have a product that is viable, that people want, and the people that buy on pre-sale right now, they get a discount. So right now it's like a 25% discount, and that's going to end pretty soon. But that helps us figure out a market, helps us have a little capital to be able to put the business into, or put that product into manufacturing too.
Okay. So you mentioned, manufacturing the shirts and getting everything made. Where are the shirts made?
They're made in Los Angeles.
Okay. So they're made in the
for
U.S.
several reasons. Yeah. So quality control is the number one reason. We're working with some of the best manufacturers in the world. They can make stuff in smaller batches, which is also helpful for a smaller company. I'm not producing 10,000 items of each shirt like a Guess might do, or H&M or Armani. So I'm producing smaller batches, but I also have a lot more quality control. And if I'm dealing with China, before I launched Trim, I tried to create a couple other products. Actually, I started, my first product idea was a standing desk. And I designed this beautiful standing desk, but I couldn't get it manufactured. And I was working with these Chinese people, and it was just a nightmare. And so then I tried another product. That was a sleek, sexy iPhone battery pack. Couldn't get that manufactured. Honestly, I got tired of dealing with China and the quality issues that I ran into. And so I was like, what can I make here domestically that I'm going to love and be proud of, and how can I control the quality of it? So that's why we're making the shirts here domestically.
Awesome.
Well,
I love to hear someone say that they're making quality over quantity. Even though I suffer from sometimes going to Walmart and buying things, because there's not a lot where I live. There's basically a Walmart and a Sam's Club. There's a Kmart, but it's so sad. Like it's like the saddest puppy who's wet from the rain. I'm like, really, this Kmart? Like, it's just put it out of its misery.
Dude, exactly. They need to shut those down.
But and there, you go there and you buy these things, and I'm like, I know this is going to break in 2 weeks, but it's $7, and then in like a month it breaks, and you're like, oh well, it was only $7. But having something quality that lasts, which is why I said, I think it's important that every man, no matter where you are in your life, you at least need to go be fitted for a tailored suit. And if you can only get like a pair of pants, spend $150, $200 on getting a nice pair of pants, so you know what it's like to really feel something that fits you. Like, you're right, Mike. It will completely change your mindset. Your chest will puff up. You'll stand taller. I mean, you will feel like you deserve to be in those. Like, those were made for you, and it will completely change your attitude.
Exactly.
So a couple fun questions. Always do some fun stuff in between in between serious questions. All right. So I gotta ask, because we've been talking about style and we've been talking about looking good. What is your I don't give a fuck look? Like, what does that look like? Like, on a day when you wake up and you're like, you know what? I don't care today. What does that look like for you?
Let's see. Probably just a kind of somewhat sloppy T-shirt, shorts, sandals, unshaven, hair's kind of messy. I had that look yesterday for half of the day, at least. So yeah. And nothing. It's not wearing fitted clothing. It's not wearing high fashion. It's wearing like a basic Calvin Klein T-shirt and my flip flops. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right. I like it. All right. You're in the finals for the International Air Guitar Championships. What song do you play to take home the crown?
The first one that comes to mind is "Stairway to Heaven," but that's like such an easy song to play from what I understand. But that was my favorite song growing up. So
nothing wrong with Zeppelin at all.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Okay, if you could go anywhere in a time machine, where would you go?
Dude, I like that one. I would probably. I think there's something in most of us men that we all kind of want to be like William Wallace.
Yes.
So I would love to go and be Braveheart and be a part of that like uprising and experience that and the romance idea of being knights and of being soldiers and warriors for a cause greater than ourselves. So that I would probably go back to Scotland and fight alongside William Wallace.
You just gained a million. You just gained 1 million awesome points, plus 1 million awesome points to Mike Zeller.
Yes.
As a man who has Scottish heritage and has a kilt, I like that was where we went on our honeymoon. It was amazing. I would love to go back and experience that as well. Because the Scots are always like, yeah, no, we don't like this. We're gonna rebel. We're gonna do something crazy.
Yes.
I like it. All right. So what is a go-to accessory for men that most men don't think about?
That's a great one. I'd say an easier one is probably cuffs. Well, I'm sorry, necklace. A simple, like, sleek necklace is a fun, can be an interesting topic of conversation, or a watch. Watches, it's one of the few ways that men can kind of like, in a masculine way, wear jewelry.
Yeah.
A watch can become like a piece of a conversation piece, a statement piece. I think your shoes are your number one statement piece. They're not really a accessory, though, of course. But an amazing, unique pair of shoes can be an instant conversation starter and change your psychology significantly. But I didn't learn that until I was living in LA, and my buddy Anthony, who I mentioned earlier, made me buy these crazy ass shoes. And when I started wearing them, I would just get compliments all the freaking time. I was like, whoa, there is something to this. But a watch or a necklace. So maybe a necklace of something simple, masculine, sleek. That's probably your number one.
I agree with you on the watch thing. I have always been, when I was living in New York City, there was a guy who made watches in Brooklyn that they were gorgeous. I could never afford them.
Yeah.
But they were gorgeous. But I'm wondering how much, I wonder if the watch is going to die, as technology evolves, and now we have iWatch and everything's sort of moving to that. And, more people now, like you see less and less men wearing watches, cause we just pull our phone.
Yeah. We don't wear it anymore as a time tracker, but you see them pretty often still, and there's a lot of innovative watch companies. We actually feature one on our website called Analog Watch, which has, the watches are made out of wood, and they just have this unique texture and feel to them and look to them. And it's a fun conversation piece, too. People will always ask you, where'd you get that watch? That's really cool, that type deal. And it's just a little piece of art and beautiful design, much like that iPhone or iPad. Part of the reason we love them is it's a beautiful design. It's sleek. It was a game changer. I remember like all the smartphones before were ugly black, designed by Nokia and Palm Pilot.
Massive.
Yeah, not really that sleek. They weren't horrible, but the design element is what sets Apple over the top. And same thing with like some great watches out there, and they can be like $150.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy. I'm not a guy that buys $5,000 watches. I want something cool in the $100 to $200 range.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I worked with a guy in New York who had a Rolex, and I was like, really? Like, you spent like that much money on it? And he goes, yeah, but it's an investment because when gold goes up, I'm just going to sell it. I'm like, oh, all right, that's fair enough. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of, we've talked a lot about fashion, we've talked a lot about tailored suits. I got to know, because as a man who loves suits, even though I don't wear them very much, being a trainer, you don't really get to wear a suit often. What is your go-to suit color?
That's true. That's a great question. I'm with you, man. I don't really wear suits hardly ever either. Let's see. I haven't bought one yet, but if I were to buy one, if I didn't really care about money in the sense, I would buy a Hugo Boss suit. The cut, the style, it's like subtly distinctive.
Yeah.
And that's, even for my own birth, that's the vision I want, is I want something that it's not the full peacock that, across the room, like, that dude is wearing something really funky. Like, I want something that you walk up to. All my clothes, I want people to, as you get closer to the person wearing the clothes, you see that, hey, this shirt or this pair of jeans or this outfit, it's different. It's a little different. It's got a little edge to it, but I can tell it's high style and it's high fashion, and it's a quality design, beautiful design. So, but it's not in your face. So that's what I see with Hugo Boss. Like, if I'm going to buy a suit and I'm willing to drop $800, $1,000, $1,500, I'll probably buy a Hugo Boss suit. I haven't bought one yet, but I've been tempted about 3 or 4 times. So,
okay. Yeah. All right. I don't know. I've been by those stores in New York, and they look good. I'm just afraid if I ever put one on, I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. It's tough.
So where do you see Trim going? Right now you're working with t-shirts. You've got hoodies that are coming out. And by the way, guys, you can get all the links to Trim. I'll have this in the show notes. You can get it at sidequestfitness.com/podcast and just look for the episode there with Mike. So you can get all the links to Trim and check them out. And I got to say, if you guys get a hoodie, I would highly suggest getting the hoodie, because I'm not kidding. It felt like snuggling with a panda bear. Like, I wanted to hold on to it all night because it felt so good. Like, I have not felt a hoodie that just felt like it was designed to make life awesome.
Yeah, dude. I love that analogy. I might make that our tagline.
That's fine. It's like snuggling a panda bear. Yeah, I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and our t-shirts, they're made out of the highest, softest cotton available, highest quality. It's called a Supima modal, so it's a step above Supima, and they are luxuriously soft too. Once you put them on, see, like, these are not your ordinary Calvin Klein or Hanes t-shirts by any means. And then we have casual button-ups right now, which are just denim button-ups, but they all have a little bit of stretch. And the reason I wanted our fabrics, for the most part, to have a little bit of stretch to it is because, I'm like you guys. If I'm working out, sometimes I add a lot of muscle. And if I'm more ripped than usual, I don't want my shirt or my jacket to feel like I'm in a straight jacket.
Yeah.
And I can't move my arms, and I'm locked down. So, because no man likes to feel restricted. No. So that's why I'm putting stretch in everything, and pretty much everything. Some stuff doesn't need stretch. But we'll have jeans, we'll have business casual shirts, we will have sport coats, even leather jackets. Jeans are coming out first quarter next year. More t-shirts.
Word for me, jeans.
Yeah, they're going to be amazing. You're going to love them. I mean, my jean designer, like I said, he's working with the #1 jean brand in the world right now. So the founder of the #1 jean brand. So he knows what he's doing with that. We'll have a full collection, but we're starting out primarily in the casual realm. And more stuff is rolling out over the next 6 months too.
Well, if you make underwear out of the same material you made the hoodie out of, dude, I'm sold. Like, if my boys can be snuggled with that soft fabric, woo!
There you go.
I'm good to go.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I love the product. I love the shirt when I put it on. Like I said, the hoodie was like snuggling a panda bear. It was awesome. I loved it. And I'm excited to see, where else you guys go. Cause I think jeans are hard for a lot of guys. I know right now, I have a pair of American Eagle jeans.
Nothing wrong with that. That's okay.
Well, I was, whatever. They were like $12 cause they were on super sale, and I'm not going to pass up $12.
Yeah.
I put them on now and they're a little tight in the thighs. Which worries, like the waist, they're still fine. I still have to wear a belt, but they're getting tight in the thighs, and that's my I don't want to build monster thighs to where I have to wear shorts, but it can be a problem getting them up sometimes.
Totally.
So I look forward to some jeans that stretch a little as well. So just a couple more questions before we wrap up the show. I read a lot about your mindset, on the blogs that you have up on the site. And a book that influenced you is one that I read this year, that I think almost any entrepreneur has read. And if you haven't read, even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you just want to know how to be a nice person and not be a dick, you should read this book. How to Win Friends and Influence People, is one of the best books I have read ever. And it makes a lot of great points for, one, being a great friend, being a great significant other, being a great coach, being a great business person, just being a good human being. So I wanted to ask this: what's one aspect of the book that you would change in today's world?
If I were to rewrite,
if you were to rewrite it, what's one thing that sort of stuck out to you that you're like, in today's world, I might switch this up a little bit.
Yeah, it's written obviously in a vernacular and a storytelling method that was more popular in the early 1900s or mid 1900s. I would say add a new principle that I would add in that you see in books like Never Eat Alone or Love is the Killer App by Tim Sanders, both of which I recommend, but especially Never Eat Alone. Is the principle, and John Maxwell's books hit on this too, but the principle of adding value, of helping others succeed. Zig Ziglar talked about this a lot too. If you help enough people get what they want, you'll eventually get what you want. But even one of the big aha moments for me with Trim when I launched it on Kickstarter is 70% of the people that bought shirts and backed it, even if they were older women in their 60s, they were backing and supporting my business launch because I had added value to them, and they liked me. They wanted to help me succeed. They wanted to see me succeed because they also knew that was my orientation to them. And so I would add that principle into How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's not in there. I would say that's one of the number one key life principles and business success principles. Is I'm constantly seeking to add value to other people, and doing that even more. Actually, the more people I get connected with, like John Romanella, he is so committed to adding value to people's lives, and he does it better than I do. And I'm like, man, I got to step up my game. And the higher up you go, the more people I've seen, the more they genuinely and typically are committed to helping other people succeed.
I have to agree with you on that. That's been the biggest lesson that I've learned in 2015 is that and that was one of the reasons I wanted to start the podcast as well, as I wanted people to realize that For many years, I looked up to a lot of the people that I actually had the amazing chance to meet this year, in reading all of their blogs and following their fitness stuff.
Yeah.
And I think, and I thought, oh, they're perfect. They've got it all together. No, they're not. They still struggle with stuff, but they add value no matter what, and that's all they're looking to do.
Yeah.
And then once you meet them, like, they're willing to come on my podcast. They're willing to help you, or answer a question. And I think that's one thing a lot of people sort of forget, that it's easier to conquer anything in life, whether it be fitness or business or world hunger or whatever the issue is. We have to do it together. The more people that are actually working together and trying to help, the more people that will benefit. We can't just all do it alone.
Yeah. 100%. Well said, Rob. I love it.
All right. So last two questions before we wrap up the show, and I'll let you tell everyone where they can find Trim and whatnot. If you could write a note to your younger self, what would you say in only 2 words?
Love wins.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Love as in adding value to people actually will win in the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you could take that another way, as if you were saying love the wins you get in life. Like, love wins.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
But I think in talking to you, I know where you're coming from. Love wins, and I think that's a good point. That it's hard to think about 2 words you would say to your younger self.
Totally.
But those are good words. I like those, Mike. All right, so last question, and I stole this from Tim Ferriss just because it's so good. And no, it's not the who would you punch in the face question. Everyone asks me, they're like, oh, are you about to ask me who I want to punch in the face? I'm like, no, that doesn't add value to their life. It just adds value to Tylenol, because then they have to down a bunch of painkillers.
Yeah.
If you could have dinner with anyone in history, who would you have dinner with? Would it be William Wallace?
And, he'd be in the top 10 probably. I would say, Da Vinci would be very interesting. Jesus would be awesome, of course. Then like Plato or one of those guys. I would have to probably go de facto with Jesus, just because, he's influenced my life. He's one of the most influential people throughout history, arguably the most influential person throughout history. Brilliant, courageous, loving, and changed the world for the better. That's what I'm about. And and he was about humanity living life at its fullest. And that's what life is about. So if I want to connect with the core essence of the best life possible, then I want to talk to that guy.
All right. I like that. I like that answer. Mike, if people want to know more about Trim, where can they find Trim online, on social? Where can they get shirts? Because anyone that's listening, guys, take some of that Christmas money and buy one of these shirts. I wholeheartedly support it. I'm not kidding when I say the hoodie is like snuggling with a panda bear. It is that soft, and it makes you feel like you are on a rainbow, sitting on a unicorn, and life is just an amazing, amazing trip. Like, it's that good. It feels that good. So I highly suggest heading over to the website, where Mike will talk about in a minute, and get a shirt. They're amazing.
Yes, appreciate that shout out, Rob. Weartrim.com is our website, and go there, and also I'm going to give you guys a discount code, and it will give you 20% off, and let's just do Trim Tribe, and that will give you 20% off for anything that you order. Right now, we are almost sold out of our first round of denim shirts, but even if we sell out, we're doing a second round, and we're actually going to have some different improvements to the shirts that you'll see. So even if you have to pre-order that one, if that size is sold out that you want, and also the T-shirts and hoodies are pre-order for a limited time. They're about to be done with pre-order. because we actually put the T-shirts into manufacturing this week. For example, hoodies are still coming a little bit later. But Trim Tribe, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Follow us. I would love to meet some of you guys. We'd love to hear from you all. And we also, another thing I should mention, we have a 5-year guarantee and warranty and return policy. So that's, if we want to take the risk on ourselves, if you're not happy with the shirt or anything you buy from us, 5 years from now, you can send it back and we'll accept the refund or send you a replacement product, either one.
Wow. You just blew my mind with that. Mike, the confidence you have in your product to say, yeah, in 5 years, in 2020, if you aren't happy with this shirt, even though you've had it for 5 years, we'll return it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, no other company, they would laugh at you. If I walked into Old Navy right now with a receipt from 2010, they would laugh at me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. But, yeah, and my goal when I started Trim was to create the best fitting, most comfortable, high-fashion clothing for the athletic or fit man. And we want to own that category. We want to be the guys that you guys can go to and say, I can order anything from these guys. I'm not afraid of ordering stuff from them because it's going to fit well. And if it doesn't, I can switch it out, try something different, or get my money back. No skin off your back.
Oh, that's awesome. So what sizes, just so everyone knows, they can head over to weartrim.com and find this, but you have sizes small to large?
Small to XL.
Small to XL, okay.
So, and I would say our sizes run slightly big, especially for the medium, for the medium and large. Most guys, like Lewis Howes, who we sponsor his podcast, and I'm friends with him as well. For example, he's a 6'5" guy, and he wears the size large. He almost needs an XL, but he can get away with a large. And I'm 5'10", and I wear medium. I'm 170 pounds. So that's kind of a little parameter right there.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. Well, Mike, I have been, I was blown away with the hoodie and the jean. I got to put the denim shirt on, and it was snug. So I loved it, and I wanted to get you on to talk about the product because I know there are a lot of guys. I'm one of those guys that I'm wearing a sweatshirt right now, and it's baggy. It doesn't fit. It looks awful. And I do like to look good, even if I am in sweatpants or shorts and a t-shirt, training people all the time. When I go out, I do like to look good. I also like to show off for my wife, so that's probably why I like to look good. But I got an ego. What can I say?
That's right.
I've enjoyed having you on. And guys, again, head over to weartrim.com to check it out, or head over to sidequestfitness.com/podcast. And I'll get you the links to all of that. All the books that Mike has mentioned as well will be over in the show notes, and any of the speakers and whatnot we've discussed, because Tony Robbins is an influence, I think, for everyone. I want to thank you for coming on, and I hope you have a great holiday season.
Dude, Rob, thanks for having me, man. It's been a lot of fun, and hope to catch up with you soon in the next mastermind, and love your show, man. It's been great to be part of it.
Hey guys, don't forget, if you want to head over to Trim and get 20% off, use the coupon code TRIMTRIBE. That's TRIMTRIBE.